The next step, I saw this matrix. So as an engineer, I'm getting pretty excited now because this looks like something analytical I can relate to. So if consequences drive behavior, let's categorize the different consequences in this quadrant. People either get what they want, they get what they don't want, they don't get what they want, or this is the tricky one, don't get what they don't want. Okay? Some of these you're pretty familiar with. When people get what they want, we call that positive reinforcement, right? So in this case, I told a joke and somebody laughed. I got positive reinforcement for that. I got the laughter that I wanted. I completed something. Somebody said, great job. I got some praise. That's positive consequence. If people get what they don't want, that's punishment. Okay? An example of punishment would be being yelled at. Or being criticized. You turn in something being criticized, you're punished at that point. You feel punished, it's negative. It's something you don't want. If you don't get something that you want, we call that extinction. Okay? Extinction means that somebody is doing something, attempting to get something, and you're withholding that. So the best example is that you have an engineer in your group who's continuously joking and disrupting the staff meeting, okay? And so what do you think they're doing that for? What are they getting as a result of these jokes? What are they getting as a result? And typically, why do they keep doing it? Attention, the laughter, the attention. Okay, if you now all of a sudden said, okay, when this person tells jokes, everybody stay silent and just focus on the meeting. Okay, that would be extinction. Now, the interesting thing about extinction, though, is there's something called an extinction burst, which means that initially that person is going to tell jokes twice as hard as they did before and twice as frequently in an attempt to make it happen, and then eventually it will tail off. The last one is negative reinforcement. And this is the tricky part because people say, well, what's the difference between this? Sometimes you hear these used interchangeably. We're going to make a distinction. Punishment is what you actually received as a result of doing the behavior. When you don't get something you don't want, it means I'm doing something to avoid something negative happening to me. I'm not punished. So let's give the example of, obviously, if you walked into your boss's office and they said, you didn't get that done on time, you're fired, that would be punishment, right? You'd feel punished right away. However, if you went into the boss's office and they said, if you don't get that project completed, you're fired. Now, it could be a little bit punishing, but the behavior that they want is getting that project completed. The consequence hasn't occurred for you yet. You have not been punished yet. You're working on that project now. You're going to go back and work a little harder on that project to avoid being fired, right? But you didn't get fired yet. All right? So why do we distinguish between the two? It's because only these and these increase behavior, these decrease behavior. Okay? So in the case of telling the jokes, we stop doing that. You punish somebody you yell at somebody for telling a joke. That's immediate punishment. They're going to tend to stop doing it. They get reinforced for telling the joke. I guess in this case, you can't. That joke isn't probably a good example where you can say tell a joke or you're fired, because I guess people would do that, but that'd be pretty stressful. But this is the case I talked about. Do something or this will happen to you. You can look at it as the carrot and the stick, right? You haven't really used the stick yet, but the stick's out there. So both of these increase behavior. Would you agree that if you were working under threat to do something, you would tend to work harder? Let's take the program or project review meeting as an example. What you've got a task to do, and you know the status of that task is going to be shown at the next project review meeting. And You have in your project meetings, people get strongly criticized and put on the spot for not meeting their tasks. Would you tend to be more motivated to complete that task? Yes. Now I know, don't worry, I'm not going to advocate this. We're going to go up here, but I want you to recognize that this works.
Why wouldn't that be punishment? Because you're saying after they had a chance, they failed to do their task.
Yeah.
Then they're getting punished.
Yeah, they would
They don't
be.
have a chance to increase
Well,
the
yeah, the
performance.
punishment, they would be punished at the project review meeting, but at the time they're working on the tasks, they haven't been punished. They're working to avoid the punishment. So that would motivate if, so,
You have to tell them you will be called out.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's look. Now, when they get punished at the project review meeting, what did you just punish? Coming to the project review meeting, right?
which is negative.
That behavior is going to decrease. Hey, I'm too busy, I can't make it. You
Just call in sick whenever they're.
You're going to call in sick. You got to find me and drag me out of my office to come to your project meeting, right? So let's understand that.